2 weeks to go.
Yeah, that's right. You heard it. 2 weeks to go until we move back to the UK. Somebody's excited. Somebody's still stressing out because we've got lots to do. But we've been busy these last 2 weeks.
Details, minutiae.
So we've got 2 weeks. We're going to run through the last 2 weeks of what we've been doing.
That's right.
To keep you updated on our move. So stay tuned.
So as we mentioned in our last update, we've decided to send some of our winter clothes and other packable items ahead via a delivery company. We'll do it. Pack my bag. Was it Pack my bag?
Send my
bag. I knew bag was in it somewhere. So this week we've been engaged in vacuum sealing clothes.
Yes.
And shoes and things that aren't really suited to the hot weather that we've got here in Charlotte at the moment. And they're being boxed away. You probably can't see them, but they're in the other part of the office over there.
So I think if we just explain, send my bag, you can send bags, as it were, but you can send boxes.
Yeah.
And I think in some countries, because it's based in Ireland, isn't it? And there are some countries where I think Send My Bag can provide you boxes, but we just chose to buy our own boxes.
Yeah, we went to the local DIY shop and got their packing box, their large packing boxes, and one extra large. To pack our things up. Now there are certain things criteria you have to fit with boxes, and one of them was shrink wrapping it.
I don't think you have to shrink wrap it. What you have to do is, first of all, choose boxes that they are allowed, because they do have like a restriction on the sort of
quality of box.
I would say restriction. Yeah. You have to pay more money if it's outside of their regular dimensions.
Yeah.
And what you pay for is based on weight and dimensions.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So one of the things that we're sending are some pictures that have already been framed. And so they didn't quite fit into the large boxes that we had. So we had to buy an extra large box.
And we don't have suitcases as big anymore.
No, they just don't fit in. Yeah. So we've had to accommodate maybe a little bit bigger size. But as long as we stay below a certain weight, then it still won't be charged the extra outside of it. Now, we have chosen ourselves to vacuum seal our clothing for 2 reasons. One is to fit more in the boxes, but also if there was any sort of flooding or anything like that,
or something,
they're inside plastic. They should still be protected. Yeah. For our shoes, we didn't vacuum shrink our shoes, but we did get some very large sort of Ziploc bags that we could put shoes in. So again, they're kind of protected in case there was some kind of, weather incident. We're also sending ahead just a few things that are also, not as sentimental, that we didn't want to just put in the suitcases to fill up the box with the pictures, because the pictures didn't take up a whole box. And the idea is we didn't want them to have too much ability to move within the box.
That's right.
Because we felt that might break the frames and everything.
Yeah, we wanted them safe, but not too rigid. We needed a bit of movement in there in case they were banged about.
What I will say is, on their website, they do recommend that you don't send fragile items, because they do lay out quite specifically that all of these bags and boxes are going to be going on various conveyor belts. And so they really, there's no way to adhere to a sticker that says this way up or fragile or anything like that. So we haven't, our frames are bubble wrapped already. We've bubble wrapped inside the boxes. We've got everything covered, in blankets. Most of our frame, I don't think any of our frames are glass anyway. They're mostly tempered plastic.
That one of mine is
just maybe
glass.
One of them.
Yeah.
So that's why we've gone to this extra effort to make sure that the pictures stay in position and don't have any sort of shifting, because we're just anticipating, like you see, bags, how they're handled at the airports.
Yeah.
We just wanted to make that extra precaution.
Yeah, and those are the ones you can see them handling. It's not like these. These will be,
Yeah. We don't know if they're going to be exactly just
handballed across them.
So then Paul came up with the idea as well, because on the website it said whenever you put together the boxes, to also, once they're done, just to use the tape to go around the middle once, and then, you know, like you would put the string on a present.
Yeah.
But you just went ahead and
Well,
did.
we'll do that when we seal them up, but we've also got some shrink wrap.
Yeah.
It's like big cellophane, saran wrap, whatever you call it, to wrap around them. Cling film.
Yeah.
Just to that added protection. And actually, one of them we've got now has started to bow out a little bit, as the things inside it have settled. So that shrink wrap will hold it back together, and we'll go around it. We've got a few 100 feet of the stuff. So
yeah. I will say we haven't sealed the boxes yet either, so that could be also the bowing, because the top hasn't been sealed properly. But the reason we haven't sold them is twofold. One is because send my bag is so much quicker. They say sort of 2 to 5 days, something like that. So we don't have to send them until another week or so.
Which is a big change from the last time you shipped things back to the UK 10 years ago. No, 20 years ago.
20
years ago.
Yeah, it took a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
this
is very
straightforward,
shipped, wasn't it? Yeah.
And then also they say, but the other reason we haven't closed them is because we haven't actually tried packing our suitcases yet. And if there's stuff that doesn't fit in the suitcases,
they're going in the boxes.
We have one extra box just in case.
Yeah, emergency box.
So that's kind of the big one. Is that obviously then we're going to be packing our suitcases soon. And I had already, Paul, you also did it this past couple of weeks, sort of separated out the clothes that we are not taking with us, to have those clothes to wear once we've started packing. So we know we are going to donate them, but the idea is that we're only going to now live in the clothes that we know we're donating.
Yeah.
And then we can wear them up to the time, get them sorted out, and then get them to Goodwill.
Yeah.
It has taken a bit of planning and organisation, so I just want to warn you. If that's where you're going to go.
Planning and organisation. It's your pastime. That's your hobby, isn't it?
Be on my gravestone. She planned this well.
Yes.
Anyway, so
coming up,
packing.
That's the packing thing.
Yes.
So the next big thing we've got coming up, it's not happened in the last 2 weeks since we spoke to you, but we did mention it before.
We did say.
And that's Monty's vet check. As part of the moving him to the UK, he has to have a USDA certified vet check him over to make sure he's not rabid or anything.
And that has to happen within 10 days of him flying. So that's not something we could have booked ahead of time. That had to be something that was done recently.
Usual vets who've been brilliant all the time we've used them, they don't have that USDA certification because they rarely use it. So this is where Starwood, the people we've used to moving Monty, they've stepped up, and this is part of their package, that big package we told you about, that the top of the line. He's getting pampered all the way there.
Yeah.
This is part of that process. So that's the next big thing that's coming up on Monday.
Yes, that's coming up on Monday. So once we get him back from that and that certificate, then that's everything. We've got the last rabies certificate because he had his rabies shot or jab in April, but they needed to have an actual signature, what they call a water signature, and not a scanned in version, and that actually has to travel with him. So they have that as soon as he hits UK customs. They have that and the USDA paperwork. So there's no delays or anything like that.
Now, I don't know if we mentioned it last time, but he has to go in a special crate.
Yes.
And they advised us to get him acclimatized to it some time ago. So it's been out in our living room
months now, because we actually got the crate or the kennel. We got that back in January. So we've been doing it little by little, haven't we?
Yeah. Well, initially we just introduced the bottom half of it, and then we put the top on, but didn't screw it down. And this week we put the doors on it with the feeders and stuff.
And actually, that was good that we did that so in advance, because we realised he's missing a food bowl.
Yes, his water bowl that attaches to the door is there with the filler. It can be filled by whoever's looking after him, but there isn't a food bowl in it. part of the process as well was having to photograph him for identification purposes in the crate and stood outside. And if you're a cat owner, you'll know that they never do what you want them to do when you want them to do it.
No.
And so a little bit of bribery was used to get him to to stand next to the crate so they can see that him stood up.
It's actually quite ironic because we did all of this. He lay down in it perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It was getting him to stand next to it.
Yeah.
So we worked all this. We tried it when he was like run quickly. He's walking towards it. Run quick, take a picture. No, it didn't work out. So then the bribery happened, and then we had our sort of last official phone call with our Starwood representative, and she goes, "Well, actually, for cats, we don't need that because they only go in one standard size anyway." And we're like, "Oh,
well, she told us that."
I know, because we were really proud of ourselves for getting that picture.
Yeah, which if we work out how to do it, we'll put in here so you can see him in his glory.
We'll try and put that in there next. And then also we have been working out the materials, but equipment. I don't know you call
essential cat supplies. I think
what he'll need on the other end. So we want to make sure that we can order like his new litter tray, food bowls, water fountain, litter, those sorts of things that they're going to be there for us to arrive because as I think we mentioned before, the way that it's working out is that Monty is going to be delivered to us essentially a couple of hours after we land at the Airbnb. So luckily you had a friend who mentioned that we could either search to see if we're going to go use amazon.co.uk obviously, but there is a parcel locker.
Yeah, there's not in where we are, but the town up, there's on the train station there's a parcel locker. Now, if it's big enough for everything, we can just call in there on our way to the Airbnb. But if it's not, then my friend said he'll deliver
we can get it sent to him and he'll bring it to us. Because originally we were going to have it sent to somebody and pick it up on the way, but because our timings kind of are a little bit well, there's very minimal margin for error. It's been very nice that your friend is gonna, if it doesn't fit in the parcel locker, we'll deliver that to us so we know we're good with Monty. Also, there's been a lot of comings and goings because we're still selling things. Well, as we mentioned, we sold a lot of things.
As you may notice, Wonder Woman's gone now.
We are still in the middle of people picking up the things that they had already said that they wanted to buy, and so there's been a lot of comings and goings, and poor Monty has been like because he doesn't do well with strangers, so he's just kind of been freaking out. And the issue I have, both of us being his parents, is that Monty tends to hide either in a bed or under a bed. Now come another week or so's time, the beds aren't going to be there. So we're worried about where's he going to feel like he's going to hide.
The good thing is, though, he'll have nowhere to hide when they come to pick him up.
Yes. So we're hoping, because we've tried to arrange all of the big stuff like the beds and the big furniture for people to come and pick that up. And I think on the same day. So we'll just maybe put him into a closet with some water and some food and sort of like have him in there until everything's sort of
just
undone.
In his room, I suppose. He has his own room because
now he does.
Pampered parents, but pampered cat.
Big American house.
Yes.
Cat can have his own room.
Yeah.
Maybe so not so much when we go back.
We can put him in there whilst all the to and fro is going on.
Yeah. Just so he feels safe, because we know this is going to be a traumatic event for him. It's going to be a traumatic event for us.
Yeah.
So we just want to contain that as much as possible.
On the getting rid of stuff front, we had a colleague from the school we used to work at. They were coming to get our other fridge and freezer last week. And when they saw the stuff that we had left in the garage, they mentioned that.
Well, they kind of did a bit of a shop first.
Yeah, well, they did.
Which was nice.
It was just nice, yeah. How much is this? How much is that one?
And we just, we're happy for people just to take stuff now.
Yeah.
We're at that point.
But they mentioned there was a garage
yard sale
going on at their development today. And so they came around yesterday and picked up a good half, well, pretty much all the stuff we were going to put in the garage sale, all the little things we were going to put in the garage sale. And that's been fantastic, hasn't it?
Yeah.
That saved us so
It
much
was
worry.
such a lovely gesture,
Yeah.
and we're so thankful.
Yeah,
that,
really appreciate it.
You know, because not only did they take the stuff to try and sell on our behalf, but also they are happy to send it to Goodwill or take it to Goodwill for us.
Ultimately, that's where it was going anyway, because you know,
it just saves us that time that we have to do. So we really, really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I don't know if we mentioned in the last one. We were talking about it at the time, but we hadn't committed to it.
No, I don't think so.
Which was selling our car, and a friend of ours from work had just sold their car using Carvana.
Yes,
and we ended up going through the process with those guys.
And then we had another teacher, all of us teachers bounding together, who was thinking about buying the car, who made an initial inquiry because their eldest is going off to college. And so they were going to downsize the vehicle that they currently have and use that maybe to buy ours. But once you investigated...
we started looking at the process for... Because I don't know what it's like in the UK now. This is something we'll have to find out when we get there. But it would have meant an extended visit to the DMV.
Right.
And a load of forms to change the title. And we're looking at that process of selling it to a friend or selling it to Carvana. Carvana one was a lot more straightforward.
And to be honest, when we mentioned, and we weren't saying no to our friend, I just sent her a message and said, do you have any experience of transitioning a car from one person to another that could help us out? And she said, we were just trying to do that for our the teen going off to college, and it's really a pain in the backside. So we understand completely if we just go with Carvana. So we're like, okay, thank you.
So that's what we did, and I think we've got a reasonable price. They pay off. I mean, there's about, I don't know, what, $10,000 left to pay.
Yeah, a bit
less $9,000.
Yeah.
They'll sell it out the title, and they'll just wire us the money, the outstanding balance.
And as our friend was saying, like, you have a choice. You can either drop it off at a certain location for free, or they can come and actually collect it, but that costs an extra $90.
It was $90, but
for us,
to be honest,
brilliant.
That's great at the minute. Anything that causes us less stress now is what we want.
But also, now that we firmed up when that's going to happen, we went ahead and ordered the rental. So it works out nicely that they're going to pick up the car on a date where we only have another 2 days or so before we fly. So we didn't have to put out a lot of expense just to hire a car to get us to the airport, essentially.
So if you're watching this in the UK, a rental is a hire car.
Yes.
If you're in the US, a hire car is a rental. So that's and we've sorted out the one at the other end as well, haven't we? We've got the hire car booked.
Yeah. I will say we have managed to use some points to help us with the hire car or the rental car that we have in the US. In the UK, we have booked it through a credit card through our American Express.
Yeah.
And we don't actually have to pay until you pick it up. And so even though we've got it safely for 2 weeks, if we can get a car before that, then obviously we can return it early.
Yeah. And the nice thing with the particular card that Susie's talking about is with who we've booked it through, we'll get an upgrade as well, an automatic upgrade.
Yes.
Won't we? So that's nice. The other thing that's happened, did you mention that?
Nope, I haven't done that.
Okay.
So we have, we already had decided this, but we are staying in a hotel the night before. So we're going to vacate the house. Once Monty has been picked up, we're going to leave the house and stay in a hotel. And we've now booked that, but we had points already set aside to be able to do that. But we've chosen a hotel which is essentially right next door to our very first apartment that we stayed in when we moved over. So we thought like we're a bit of closing the circle, bit of posterity there.
Yeah.
We've also done some admin, what I would call general admin things.
Yes. In the unlikely event of us having to find employment in the UK, we have applied for FBI background checks, what they call a rap sheet here.
Yeah. I will say that this is not needed for just a regular job.
Yeah.
This is if we have to, reach back into our teaching/tutoring world.
Yeah.
If you're working with vulnerable people in the UK, you have to have, used to be called a CRB, but it's now like a D. It's the same idea. They check to see that you have no criminal past, no criminal history. And obviously with us not being in the UK for 15 years,
yes,
that would be difficult for them to assess.
It would be. Well, I had to go through a similar thing when I was getting my green card to come here. I had to get what's known as a police certificate to show that I wasn't a criminal.
So we have proof.
We have proof. So that was something we originally were going to do the electronic version.
Yeah, so
where you go to the post office and they scan your fingerprints in, it goes off, and it is a quicker return, but we left it too late.
So this is a good top tip here, is don't leave that too late. If you feel like you also need to go through or want to go through this step of getting proof that, again, you're not criminals, since you've been here in the US, then make sure you do that ahead of time, because we thought mistakenly that we'd had plenty of time to do this, but when we signed on to try and get that digital appointment at the post office,
it was over a month, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. The first appointment wasn't until July, and of course we leave at the end of June, so that's
late
not helpful. So you can do it the other way, which we have done. You can just get the manual fingerprints done,
which is something we've done on a regular basis here. Every couple of years, you have to go and supply your school with a new set of fingerprints as part of their background check on you.
Yeah, so it's a bit dirtier. Yeah. It takes a while to get that ink off.
Yeah. I recommend alcohol-based. I always recommend alcohol. No, I recommend hand sanitizer type stuff.
Yeah.
And a scrubbing brush, because it took ages.
It took a long time. Yeah, and you didn't want to get all that on your face, do you?
Well, on your face. Yeah.
So yes, just saying again, you don't have to do that for like a standard, what I would call a job. This is, like, I guess, for nurses, teachers, anybody who's going to work with maybe disabled people, just that vulnerable population. So if you are looking to work back in the UK, I would just double check that before you leave the US, because we've seen on a lot of the sites, the Facebook groups and things, about people found who have moved and are in the UK and are trying now to go back to the FBI to get that, and it seems it's taking forever to do. So get it done ahead of time.
And I'm not sure whether you might need something like that for a rental. Sometimes they do a background check for.
I don't know.
But is that purely credit that they'd be checking, do you think?
Not 100%.
Maybe, sure. I don't know. But it's something we've done. So the downside of doing it manually is the fact that the process takes longer. Yeah. The electronic one is pretty quick. I think there's a 15-day turnaround with that one.
Yeah.
But it could be as much as 40 days. So we've got an envelope ready for our friend to forward them to us from here.
They do actually, when you fill out the forms for the FBI, they do have an area where they literally already have it there, care of. So you can have it sent to somebody who's still here.
Yeah. And
like Paul said, she's just going to take it from the envelope, put it in our envelope and send it to us.
Yeah.
We have that already prepaid, so it's not going to be a hassle for her. She just has to drop it in the post box. Just has to
stick it in a post box.
Yeah.
The other bit of kind of office work we did was our insurance has been with AAA here, which is they do travel, they do insurance, and they're a bit like the AA in the UK.
Yeah.
So our insurance has been with those guys for at least 5 years, we're aware of.
Yeah.
And we asked them to provide us with a no claims letter.
Yeah. So we've been doing a bit of research here, and we understand that there are some UK car insurance companies that won't accept your foreign no claims time. However, some will. So we just thought, well, we'll get that as a standard letter.
At least they say we've got a clean sheet for the last 5 years.
They don't call it a no claims letter here, though. They call it a letter of experience. So if you're going to call up to ask for that or phone them, I don't know. Sorry.
Your experience.
Yeah, they call it a letter of experience. Yeah. And I would carefully check it, because I will say that they made a mistake on ours.
Yes, which you spotted straight away.
Yeah, so
and got them to fix.
So that is something that, like I said, we got in the bag. And then there were a couple of other things that we've done. We talked about cancelling things. So we're getting to a point where we've managed to cancel the internet. Obviously, we still have it to a certain date. We've cancelled things like Netflix and
streaming services.
Things like that. The only thing we haven't cancelled is the car insurance yet, because obviously we're still driving. But we shall do that as soon as we're going to do that as soon as the car is sold.
Yeah.
Because even though we've got a rental or a hire car after that, we have used our credit card, our Chase Sapphire Preferred, and when you use their cards to get a rental, they give you primary car insurance coverage.
Yeah.
So we don't necessarily have to maintain our own. Now, it could be that because a payment already went out, that the car insurance is valid until July anyway.
But it's kind of belt and braces. It's making sure, doubly sure.
Yeah.
What else? Oh, the other thing is we got a confirmation from our former financial advisor, and the school. Well, he will be up to that.
Pardon me.
Our termination date, which is the day that the school says we no longer work for them, isn't what we thought. We submitted them on the 2nd of June, 3rd of June, and we thought that would be our cut-off date. But because they matched our contributions,
so this was
we're still being paid for this month, that extends it to...
Yeah, I think this is where I didn't understand something. Yeah. So I will explain that. Initially,
please do.
We went to and fro quite a bit about when we actually were going to finish school officially.
Yeah.
And in the end, we decided we would feel incredibly guilty if we just cut out halfway through a year. Because initially we were going to go into January, and we didn't think that was fair. But it wasn't just that; it was also the fact that our school matches our 401 contributions.
Yeah.
Now, so we made that decision, fine, all and good. And then, further on into this transition...
Let me just interject.
Yes.
We stopped making...
Well, I was going to say that.
Oh, right,
yes,
sorry.
That's the bit I was getting to. No, it's all right. Is that we then found out that if we did not wait until the end of June to... Because we thought we had to stay until the end of June in the country to get any match contributions. Yeah. And so that made us think, well, actually, are we going to have to then move the date we wanted to move? Do we have to now go into July?
Mm-hmm.
Then knowing, again, the other situation, I think we mentioned before that, as the temperature increases over here, weather-wise, for Monty to fly, going in July, August, I mean, those temperatures go crazy. So we knew we had to fly in June. So that then made us, well, okay, maybe we won't get the match contribution because we're going to leave before June 30th.
So we wrote
we were told that's when the match contribution goes in, is in the 30th. So then, like you said, we then decided to stop making contributions to keep that money and put that in the savings anyway.
Yeah.
Well, as it turns out, those first months that we did actually make contributions, we are going to get a match that isn't going to go into the 30th, but we don't actually have to stay in the country, but it does delay the rollover that we were going to do into our IRAs.
Yeah. Well, we've found a way around that again by having them forwarded to us when they land.
See, this is the key thing. It's when, from a legal point of view, you have to set up the IRA accounts that you're rolling your money into whilst you are resident in the United States. But once you set them up, you don't necessarily have to be present to then roll the actual money into it, which is the distinction that we had to make sure we understood, because now that we're getting this contribution and not until the end of the month, we were a bit concerned. So we double checked with everybody, didn't we, about that?
And I think we might have mentioned before we had to time our resignation as well to ensure that we'd be covered with the health coverage, the health insurance we got through employment up until the time we left. So that was another reason we put our resignations in on the 3rd of June.
To be honest, it was actually our HR person who told us to do that. So thank you for your help on that.
Thank you very much on that.
And then really the last bits is that obviously this is a lot of stuff in preparation to leave, but we wanted to get a bit excited about arriving, didn't we?
Yeah. So we've been looking at furniture.
Yeah.
Because obviously we're not sending any furniture across because our furniture is probably too big for where we're going to. So we started
Plus
looking.
the cost, really.
Plus the cost, yeah.
We don't buy expensive furniture.
Well, we did.
Well, yeah,
Well,
but I
those
mean,
sofas aren't cheap, my love. But anyway,
to send them would be more expensive.
Yes. So we started looking at IKEA online, and we were looking at the UK site to try and work out the prices. There's a couple of IKEA sofas we know. So we toddled off to IKEA here in Charlotte the other week and had a test run.
And also bed frames.
Oh yeah,
we were looking at bed frames. We know that storage is a bit of an issue in the smaller properties that we're moving back to.
Because we've lived in smaller properties before.
So we were looking at, we knew that there were, I mean, we already had them. I think I had one of those divans, that had the drawers in them. But you found what they call Ottoman.
It's an Ottoman.
Ottoman style.
Yeah, where you lift the whole bed up and there's storage underneath.
So that would really help us out, wouldn't it? So the other reason we wanted to go with IKEA is we looked at other furniture places. I know there's a Wayfair, for example, here and in the UK, but the actual delivery times were really quite long, and we needed something a bit more immediate. So my only thing is, my own personal taste is that IKEA sofas are just really low down, but now we know we can just kind of put little furniture footstool thingies, risers on them to lift them up again. No offense to people of the younger generation, but as you get older, your knees don't work as well. My knees are going a little bit. So having to sort of, have a sofa that's lower down than what I'm used to would not be great. So that's one of the things. And also other things. We've been looking at Amazon again for, things like bedding, plates,
all the things,
crockery, all of that sort of stuff
that we need on our immediate arrival. But like we've mentioned last time, we're lucky that the Airbnb we've booked is over the top of where we're going to be renting. So
yeah,
it means we can be on site for deliveries, and we won't be on a folding chair and
that's how we
and
were
a mattress
here.
like we were when we first arrived in the US. Okay.
Right, I think that is the majority of what we still have bits to do. So most of the things that we're doing, the final bits and bobs that we're doing, like I said, we have to pack our suitcases. We still have to.
There's still a lot of stuff to
round up
and go to donate or to go to the dump.
We have some electronic devices. So Paul got a new laptop. I recently got a new laptop. Yay. So they're older devices, which aren't working very well. We call them our crap tops, don't we? But we have to find a way to sort of, delete all of the personal information so we can donate those. I still have to do a last sort of roundup of bills. It's just those sort of last things. But we're now at a point where we're now more looking forward to it than we are trepidatious about it.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming, and we're kind of champing at the bit to go now, aren't we?
We are, yes. Yeah. So we are going to be posting other videos in the coming weeks, but as it's kind of getting very close to our crunch time, and I'll put this in the post as well, but as it's coming close to our crunch time, we may not be on top of our comments and things.
Yeah.
As we may be traveling as well, but we will do our best to keep everybody updated, but know that we are, in the midst of our transition, shall we say.
Yes. And we'll fill you in with all the details when we land in Blighty.
We'll definitely see you on the other side. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Well, wish us luck.
Yeah. Ooh,
and obviously
time for a new one.
Subscribe and hit the like button. Subscribe, obviously, to find out how we get on at the other end.
Yeah.
We're hoping to take a bit of footage on the actual journey. We're not overly technically good at maybe embedding that in videos. So stay tuned to our ongoing technological adventures as well.
Take care and bye for now.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.